All right, we're back for round 8 of the Nerd Rage coverage. Becky Bell, how you feeling?
I'm feeling really good, but I haven't been here nearly as long as you and nearly as long as our players who at this point, I don't know if I think at this point, probably pretty much everyone watching, everyone at home has played one of these 9 round tournaments
Mhm.
before. And you know that at this point in the day, especially if you're doing pretty okay and you're still alive, you've got to be tired. Hopefully, you're staying hydrated at least, and you're just like, gotta make it through. You were talking to Devin about it earlier. You were like, "Are you the
Mhm.
person who thinks about all the rounds throughout the day, or are you just get through one more?" And I was like, I wish so much that I was a just get through this one, just get through this one, just keep going. But I'm not. I'm also like you. I'm thinking about every single other round. My mind is in a million different places, but we hope that our players are here. We hope that they are focused, and we're getting note that they are ready to go. So I'll stop rambling about this.
All right, let's go down to the table for round number 8. Thanks for being with us here at Nerd Rage Gaming. We're going to watch Mason Lange versus Jason Reid. The word was that table 1 drew this round intentionally. Everyone else is playing. So we'll see where this ends up. So
And
I got to
both of
tell you,
their
Becky.
sleeves match my hair. Yes, tell me.
So one thing about that is to get through the days, you got to have some continuous source of amusement as well.
Mhm. What is
My
your typical source of
My
amusement?
well, today my source of amusement is my new green screen. Nerd
Oh,
Rage Nerd Rage was like, "We're gonna try using green screens." So they sent me a green screen this week. And then they decided this morning not to use it. So instead, it's a landmine behind my chair that I'm afraid I'm gonna trip over every single time I stand up. And every time I look at
oh
it, I'm like,
no.
this was the best laid plans that just got flushed, and maybe we'll use it sometime in the future.
Oh.
All right, Strangleroot Geist for Mason Lang, who we saw earlier today,
Mhm.
and I'm trying to see what round that was in. My notes fail me
I
for
think that
the
was round
moment.
number 4.
That sounds about right.
3 or 4 was the round that I feel like I recall seeing it in, but looks like
There it
this is
was. It's round three.
probably
Yeah, round three backup was Mason when Mason Lang was on camera. So after this, if you want to go back and watch his deck again, that's where you can find it. In the meantime, here he is against Jason Reid. Strangleroot Rice getting an early hit in, and this is fairly adept at getting through Quaddle, not so much against prismatic endings. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, this is kind of an interesting matchup here. And oh,
Oh, okay. So Dress Down comes down and delays Wall of Roots, making mana for a turn. I guess that's something.
yeah, I mean, if you have something like an elf that was drawn this turn or
Mm-hmm.
otherwise being able to
Yeah,
delay that, it looks like it was potentially a Birds of Paradise in hand, actually. Yeah, which
yeah,
I guess you're playing that or Ignoble Hierarch, which I guess isn't technically an elf, but mana creatures.
yeah. And Mason has left the table to ask a question, perhaps. But yeah, so holding off the Ignoble Hierarch, I mean, does save Jason a point of damage. And also, I believe Geralf's Messenger is in Mason's hand. And so that would mean that unless he draws a black source, he's actually not going to be able to cast it next turn because he doesn't have the third black source without the Hierarch in play. So yeah, Dress Down did something there.
Yeah, and that could be the question that Mason is kind of asking away from the table is exactly how this dress down interaction ends up working with Wall of Roots. And yeah, kind of an interesting setback that's going to be happening, and kind of a heads up play from Jason if this
Yeah.
ends up really going according to plan. And with what looks to be quite the stacked hand of like at least a Teferi next turn to even delay this further, along with quite a few other things, then I would kind of consider this 4-color Yorion deck to be in a great place, and is probably the deck that I would consider to be favored in this matchup just because the Golgari Yawgmoth deck, I feel like, plays a lot of those kind of mopey creatures and then eventually plays an important creature, and there's just so much removal that the 4-color Yorion deck a lot of the time can wait to use the removal that it has until something like that Yawgmoth or one of those important creatures comes down and just handle it pretty swiftly.
So this maybe we can if this is just an extensive judgment, then all right. If Mason has stepped away for some. I don't know what else it would be. Yeah. All right. So it is a judge question that's actually still ongoing. Apparently, I don't really have even a speculation as to what that might be. Can I use Wall of Roots when Dress Down's in play? No. Follow up. Are you sure? Like I don't know where we're going with this. But
Can you show me where in the rules it says that?
All right,
sure.
so he is back in the chair now. So let's go ahead and go back down to the table. So that just slightly outlasted our patience, but we'll continue on. Dress Down does eat itself, and Jason Reid, you said had a lot of good cards in hand. That is generally the case with these decks. They mix lands with powerful cards. Teferi Bounce Wall of Roots. Okay.
Yeah, we'll probably end up dying to that Strangleroot Geist, save for a pitch Solitude or something that could be in hand. I don't see that happening though.
And the land does show off the top for Mason Lange, so losing that Wall of Roots mana doesn't hurt as much. Messenger comes down, Strangleroot Geist coming across somewhere. At Teferi. Okay.
Yeah, not even gonna worry about having to worry about that later. Take care of it now.
So Supreme Verdict, all-time bad right now. Prismatic Ending still works just fine. And Omnath always works.
Yeah, unfortunately, that will be just as annoying as ever. But you don't feel too bad about attacking these creatures into this Omnath either.
Sure. So there was
Consolation prize.
There's the Hierarch. So so Messenger goes in by itself, offering a trade. Jason's going to take it.
You mentioned Supreme Verdict. Is there actually one in Jason's hand, and is it going to be going from all-time bad to fine?
I didn't see one. I was just
okay. Well, hypothesizing,
theorizing that the Supreme Verdict was not so good against undying creatures.
I see. Yeah, there's only 2 on the sideboard, so probably not going to see the Supreme Verdict.
Who are you?
There will be a problem. I'm whispering to the chat.
I see. Okay, good. Good plan. I'm sure any of our viewers who are hard of hearing appreciate that. All right, so this is a Traverse the Uvenwald being cast here with, let's see, land enchantment, Planeswalker,
with another question from Mason.
Oh, you're right. He left the seat again. I didn't even notice. I was looking the other side of the board. Okay, well.
What's the question this time? Can my opponent traverse for something?
Yeah, so there is Delirium. So this Traverse.
The last card in hand, I'm pretty sure, is Endurance, actually.
Oh,
so we're asking how Delirium and Endurance work.
I see. Well, that Ignoble Hierarch, I believe, is summoning 6, so that's not going to work anyway. But
true.
So there's Endurance. Actually, it would be more useful to look at Traverse the Uvenwald, which fetches a basic land, or with Delirium fetches any land or creature. And Jason does have Delirium. So there you go. You can see what's going on here. So could be fetching another Omnath potentially. That's generally a winner, but lots of options. Last match, we actually saw Adam, even with Delirium, still fetch for a land because he wanted the mana to be able to cast Emrakul a turn or 2 later on. Okay, so this time it is a replacement Omnath to make up for the one that died.
Get this ball rolling again. Or Ooze. Whichever you'd prefer.
Maybe not this turn, though. Oh, yeah, probably so. So Mason with a lot of live draws here. Yawgmoth, any of the tutor effects. Let's see. So Jason's falling to 7. Another Strangleroot Geist would not outright win the game, but it might lead the Omnath to trade with the Yawgmoth. Yeah. Okay.
All right. Oh, and it looks like we're trying to go for
Mhm.
some of those live draws by sacrificing that nurturing peatland.
Yeah, I like it. Grist would also be good. That would lead to, well, not quite a win, but very close. And that actually might be the card. Yes, it is.
Mhm.
Oh, actually, you know what?
Actually, yeah.
Yeah, it's more damage even than I realized. So this is actually gonna come across for 7. Almost there.
Almost so close.
Uh, Shuts off fetch lands, which is
Kind of
a
a big
very,
deal. I
yeah, maybe potentially could be.
guess if we had another Omnath and played the land the first time, we'd go up to 5, so then it wouldn't be as big of a deal, but we've gone through 2 Omnaths already. How many
Mhm.
more could Jason Reid play?
Yeah. He's playing an 80 card deck, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
and not a bunch of ways to find creatures.
he's not due for another Omnath for at least 20 turns.
Mhm.
Yeah, he agrees. It's not there. Okay, so Mason Lange
Wow.
picks up game 1 and shows off the
With
endurance that was left in the hand, probably because Jason's like, "What were you asking questions about?" And he's like, "Oh, I was asking about endurance." But
I
then I
couldn't
realized,
even cast it because I
yeah,
don't have the mana, but, it's good to know.
yeah, exactly. Yeah. So the first question he asked, still uncertain as to what that would be, but that might have been the second one. Anyway, let's go ahead and look at the deck lists. Jason Reid and Mason Lange. So Jason Reid's 4-color Yorion. This is again, so you can kind of pick out like what identifies the different versions of the deck. So this is a traverse version, not Eldamri's
Mhm.
Call. We
And I
do
feel
not.
like over the course of, 2 weekends, we saw everyone flip from the Eladamri's Call versions to the Traverse the Uvenwald versions.
I actually agree that has been my impression as well. I don't know if it was quite that fast, but it does feel like that to me. So no Eternal Witness, no Time Warps. Those generally come together. No
Mhm.
Ephemerates, but we do have the full 4 Prismatic Endings. We have the 4 Traversal Urbanwalds, 4 Unholy Heats. Another thing, we don't have Ragavans. So some of these lists play Ragavans in the main deck,
Mhm.
not here. So that pretty much sums it up. So we've got Veil of Summers in the sideboard. Are Veil of Summers good against Green Black Yorion? No, they are not.
No.
That I feel like is something that everyone learns with experience. It probably only takes 1 or 2 matches. I remember realizing it at
In the top 8 of an event?
no, it
Okay.
was well, it was in a match where I got knocked out of the Channel Fireball event last fall, kind of the first big event back from the coronavirus,
Mhm.
time off. And I was like, yeah, you know what? These aren't very good, despite the fact that half your deck is black. It's just there's just not much interaction in it.
Yeah.
So there are certainly cards that can come in here.
So
Endurance primarily,
mhm.
I think.
Yeah, probably
Mm,
those Supreme Verdicts, there would have been a few places where those would have at least been
yeah,
able to do a something, and potentially the Tail's End would at least stop a Yawgmoth turn, and we can go ahead and
yeah,
take a look at that Yawgmoth.
yeah. So here's Mason's deck list. These decks, I think, we probably see a lot of similarities in all these different decks. I'm not sure anything even jumps out at me as being unique
Spicy.
here. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm kind of inclined to agree. I feel
Oh,
like I'm
okay.
used to seeing a few more Outland Liberators than are really in this deck, but
Okay. There is more. Uh, there's more discard than I have familiar with lists playing. So those actually Veil of Summers are actually much better here than, even though I just said my
mhm,
little piece about how they're not good in the matchup. There's about twice as much discard here as there has been in the lists I've played against. So maybe Jason would benefit from bringing them in, although no guarantee he knows that or his opinions on that
mhm.
issue one way or the other.
Yeah, and this is kinda hard because I feel like Torok, I don't know, I feel is phenomenal, but I do think that, Thoughtseize I think the information that comes from Thoughtseize is arguably more important than actually the discard portion of it. I mean, it's a nice upside too, but against these 4-color decks, being able to take away, like, whatever key card is important and then having the information for future turns, especially when we're playing this kind of combo-oriented deck, once again, just has such an important asterisk above it.
Yeah, definitely. Sorry, I lost what I was going to say there. I don't know.
That's okay. And it looks like we're gonna have a 1 mulligan here from
Mhm.
Jason, which this is not a deck that I think, like, wants to mulligan, but does have enough 2-for-1s that can sometimes certainly make up for mulliganing pretty aggressively. So it's kinda back and forth, but being on the draw, I think, does kind of hurt this mulligan a little bit more than some others do.
Well, Jason's in the play.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, be able to make the cards back up. I mean, there's so much value in these decks that a functional mana base is really all it needs to start with, and then there's not really hate cards so much. Endurance is fine, but just exile removal is good against the Yawgmoth decks and
Mm.
the 4-color
Did bring
Yorion
in
deck.
the Veil of Summers.
He did well, good for him. Understanding what Mason's sideboard actually looks like, as opposed to me theorizing and being, maybe a month or two out of date, or just a different build. But we see Strangleroot Geist and Grist in hand for Mason and Birds of Paradise, so things are going to get going rather quickly. Well, I remember what I was going to say about the Torok. You were talking about the information value of Thoughtseize, and on Torok, the discard. This card's nice. The protection from white is relevant here. That does
Very true.
involve a decent amount, although not all, of the removal in Jason's deck.
Yeah, I don't know that Jason is not playing a version with Furies, so would take care of that. Save for, like, Unholy Heat could take care of it then at that point, but yeah, you're correct. Prismatic Endings, things of that nature alongside those Solitudes would not be able to do as much. Or speaking of the Unholy Heats that can take things out, Bird gonna get a little bit singed there, but
Yeah, bolt the bird, huh? I
thankfully
don't know. I know people love to say that, but I suppose it is often true. We'll see. We'll see how it plays out this time. Jason did to fairy bounce and dress down to really slow down the wall of roots last game, and
Mhm.
Mason did draw the third black source off the top, I think, on turn 4, and so was able to continue relatively unhindered. But that doesn't mean it was a bad play by Jason to try it.
Yeah, and we were able to also kind of see how impactful it had the potential of being as well. So certainly not too bad. Brought the Supreme Verdicts in as
Right.
well. Now just going for this traverse, trying to see what basic land is going to be most important.
Yeah, it looks like it's the plains, which makes sense to cast the prismatic ending this turn and the second white source alongside a blue source, so any additional land can cast a Supreme Verdict.
Mhm. All right. That first one got prismatically ended. Strangleroot Geist number 2.
Yeah, this Dryad Arbor is kind of an unfortunate victim of the Supreme Verdict whenever it actually happens.
Yeah. Hopefully, maybe if Strangleroot Geist stays in play long enough, that can kind of like deter it a little bit. But I do agree that that will be an unfortunate side effect of that. Well, fortunate for Jason Reid, unfortunate for Mason Lane.
Okay, Grist on the stack. Veil of Summer as a cantrip for Jason. There was no, I don't think there was 2 blue available for counterspell, even though the counterspell itself is in hand. Now Mason's having a look, so trying to figure out what actually this is going to protect Jason from, and it's not going to be too much this turn anyway. It's just a cantrip. Grist will still be able to make a token. Flip over Yawgmoth into the graveyard. And in for 2. So pretty clean turn. And Yeah, Jason cantripping along. I mean, that's a nice thing about Veil of Summer is you can cash it in for a card in a lot of scenarios if it's not working the way you want it to.
Yeah, that is a nice little plus side for sure. And nice to have this hollowed fountain. We were worried that actually need to have that blue source. Supreme Verdict in hand. Gonna go ahead and use it right now. Thankfully, because Grist is on the battlefield, it's not a creature, so will not die
Yeah.
to the Supreme Verdict. Unfortunately, Dryad Arbor is a creature. Does die.
Yeah, Dryad Arbor didn't get to do much this game, but whoo, 2 Strangleroot Geists getting in there for 5, pushing Jason down to 2. That went fast.
Oh, yeah. All of a sudden, like a Geralf's Messenger is lethal as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so the cards available for Jason here, it looks like Unholy Heat, Counterspell, Expressive Iteration,
An
which
abundant
may,
growth.
yeah.
Hmm.
So this is this is not enough. Yeah, this iteration is going to have to be cast, and it's going to have to hit really well.
I guess, okay, so earlier when I was talking about how I imagine this matchup goes, I was saying like 4-color Yorion like has pretty good removal, and it just is able to remove the important creature when it comes up on the Golgari Yawgmoth side of the board. But that's very different when you're just getting beat down by Strangleroot Geist. So all of a sudden, the thing that I hypothesized to be the typical gameplay game plan, not relevant.
Yeah, here's the Windswept Heath. Okay, so I guess I mean you have to really reach here to even find a route for Jason to stay alive here. It's going to have to be what, draw another, no, draw. I was going to say another Unholy Heat, but he can't cast. He already has a Plains in play untapped, so that doesn't
Yeah.
work.
So that counter spell is not something we can do either.
Yeah, I think Jason Reid's out of here.
Whoa.
2 mana. Yeah, I don't see it. I think this is over with. I think the strength of these Strangleroot Geists, and I mean Jason having to blow a turn on a Supreme Verdict that really didn't do a whole lot, has not that he maybe had options, but it has cost
Yeah.
him in this game.
Yeah, I'm inclined to agree, which I don't know. I think does kind of start to say a lot about like again, I called them mopey creatures, and I guess if they're gonna be able to live through a supreme verdict, maybe I shouldn't be calling them mopey because potency is certainly key in this format and being able to get as many 2-for-1s as possible. And you could in a lot of ways consider Undying to be a 2-for-1.
Sure, as long as you're actually able to take advantage of it, which we very much saw it play a role here. Sometimes when you play this matchup, it's not going to matter because of prismatic ending and solitude.
Yeah.
Uh, this time around, I mean, yeah, the Supreme Verdict picked off a Dryad Arbor, which is otherwise nothing, but the rest of the plan worked great for Mason there. The Grist presenting additional threats, and then just a couple Strangleroot Geists getting through for a pile of damage. That was nicely navigated and pretty straightforward, honestly, in game 2.
Yeah, indeed. And it's interesting because I feel like we saw a lot of like things that were sideboard cards, things like that Supreme Verdict and that Veil of Summer
Mm-hmm.
that again didn't end up doing very much. And there's something that could be said. Did the 4-color Yorion deck just like over sideboard? Did we see the wrong cards? Like, I don't know how exactly we would feel about that. And they were, it seemed like talking about sideboarding after that match. And so we
Mm-hmm.
could be finding out from the Yorion standpoint, like, did I board wrong? Is there a way that in the future I should board differently? Did you even bring in Thoughtseize for me to use these Veil
Mm-hmm.
of Summers against? What exactly happened here?
Yeah, and then counter spells were. I mean, it's easy to fall behind a deck that has a bunch of 1-mana accelerators, even when you're going first. And we saw it happen there. And counter spells in hand, unable to be cast really at any productive point. It certainly would have been nice, but it just didn't line up right. And yeah, Jason Reid advances. I'm sorry, Mason Lange advances to 7-1, looking good for a potential top 8. All right, we do have backup match. We have Isaac Bullwinkle versus Ben Fraley, and if that's ready to go, we're gonna watch Murktide versus. So we talked about Murktide versus 4-color being kind of
Yeah,
2
I'm
primary
glad.
decks. Well, now we're gonna
Yeah.
see Yawgmoth faces both of them. So
Oh, all
this,
right. And we also talked about how Izzet Murktide is very similar to the Izzet deck that's in Legacy, and we know Isaac Bullwinkle for playing the Izzet deck in Legacy and is playing it in Modern as well.
all right, here we go. So we've had so far today, we've had Batman sleeves, we've had
Hmm.
SpongeBob sleeves,
Hmm.
and now we have Pokemon sleeves.
I like the Mew sleeves. I think that they're a nice pickup. I mean, I also like Pokemon. I don't know if anyone could guess from seeing
Yeah,
my background that I am also a Pokemon fan,
I
but
think the word is out on that one.
yeah, I think that unless we're not able to know the Pokemon that is so highly represented behind me, then you maybe wouldn't be able to guess. Who knows? But I like the Pokemon sleeves. I thought the Batman sleeves were cute too, and then you were like, "Oh, we should get some Joker sleeves in here too," and
Well, really, we should
that
get
would be
some.
kind of fun.
I mean, when we get some Star Wars sleeves going, I'll be behind that. Or like some of these,
Oh.
it's just I don't know. It's just the age gap between me and some of the players, like Pokemon sleeves or um, SpongeBob. Yeah,
Mhm.
if you want to get some Tailspin sleeves, anything from Disney Afternoon, I'm on board for that. Darkwing Duck sleeves, we could do that.
Ooh, that'd be kind of sweet,
Yeah,
actually.
I don't think I might be the only one that bought any, but still. All right, here is our favorite creature, Young Wolf, holding off Ragavan.
Let's go, Young Wolf.
Yeah, and against Izzet Murktide, I mean, Prismatic Andy can take that out for the 4-color decks, but Murktide, not so much. And so, I don't know what Ragavan runs for these days, but Young Wolf is probably about 4.5 cents.
Hold up, I'm
And
looking it up right now. You're all
okay.
going to be able to hear my keyboard.
And yeah, it's
All
a
right. Oh,
pass. Young Wolf.
I I also, if you search Young Wolf, surprise, I guess maybe not surprisingly, just a bunch of pictures of cute puppy wolves come up.
Oh, that's
Not
funny.
actually Young Wolf from Magic, so I wasn't actually that successful in my Google search.
That's all right. Anyway, Young Wolf is successful at holding back Ragavan. And here's Strangleroot Geist, another card that Ragavan absolutely cannot get through in a million years.
But this
Uh,
one actually kind of gets to attack. You know,
that's
Strangleroot
true.
Geist comes into play and is like, "Young Wolf, you hold down the fort. I'm going in."
Yeah, well, I may even get counterspelled here. It's like, oh, no, okay, it's
I
just a
mean,
tap land.
that makes it a 1-for-1. So honestly,
Yeah, this is Undying at its best here. Now, a few turns from now, Isaac may just fly over the top with huge flying dragon monsters and ledger shredders, but for the moment, his deck is being outclassed.
this is it's so weird to me to see. Again, we talked about it. The two most represented decks, the two decks that are considered to be the strongest decks, and then Young Wolf and Strangleroot guys. And
Yeah.
it makes me so happy. Which like maybe that's saying something that I should just like start playing this Golgari Yawgmoth deck
Mhm.
because it warms my heart every time I see a Young Wolf in play. But it's so hard at the same time because like we'll see. Maybe this time it will be the case that we're gonna see the Golgari Yawgmoth deck be playing these like low cost creatures that are going to end up being outclassed by potentially a very large Murktide region
Mhm.
somewhere along the board.
Yeah. Actually, eventually, a lot of respect here. Strangleroot Geist doesn't even attack into the Ragavan. There was a potential 2 damage there that, conservatively went to waste, but is what, not wanting to get hit by Ragavan. That's understandable.
Hmm.
So iteration here into Bobble plus another Bobble. And if Ben has land, he's looking good. I'm not sure that he does, but there is a Yawgmoth and a Grist.
Yeah, there's a Bird of Paradise too. Bad if that was the deploy instead of somewhere else, but instead
Oh,
another
there we
bird was
go.
the draw for turn. So yeah,
Okay.
we'll just get them both into play so that we can do some, but hopefully cross our fingers, some Yawgmothy things next turn.
Mhm. All right, so 2 birds, and now Strangleroot Geist comes in. Okay.
This is kind of interesting to do with this turn because if Young Wolf gets killed and is exiled for some reason, I don't know that I would block with a bird.
Right. Well, I wouldn't either after missing a land drop, and one bird's going down right here anyway. I mean, Unholy, he found a target they can kill.
Yeah.
So,
That doesn't come back.
yeah. I wonder if Ben would have been better off playing the first bird last turn instead of the Strangleroot Geist that didn't attack anyway.
That's
So
kind of what I was thinking.
more mana available. But okay, here's Ledger Shredder and Murktide, and this is going to work not exactly in the way that Izzet would be hoping, because now that he's tapped down and Ben is going to untap with the Birds of Paradise alive, the Grist is going to hit the board, and this Murktide is going to get just blown up instantaneously.
Yeah, that's potentially going to be kind of rough, as that is exactly what happens here. And we'll see Izzet trying to keep composure here, and that down tick means the young wolf actually going to get a little bit bigger. And yep, you said it, that Murktide can go ahead and say goodbye.
Yeah, Ben's still looking for more mana, but not in any real danger right now. I mean, Grist is going to go down, I'm sure. And
Ooh, that's kind of, yeah, okay.
This is starting to get now the missing land is now starting to become an issue for Ben here.
Yeah, it was looking okay when we could just go ahead and do 2 birds, but I think for things to continue to go really smoothly, both of the birds needed to live, and now all of a sudden that they haven't, things are starting to really start to slide into the deck that can filter very efficiently's favor.
Mm-hmm. And okay, this young wolf, not so impressive on turn 5.
I keep thinking that I see a land in Ben's hand, and then it isn't actually a land.
Okay, yeah. If there was one, then I feel we have to make some judgments about his play skill here. As certainly playing a land here would have been a very good thing to do. So it probably wasn't one. There's definitely a Yawgmoth in hand. I'm not sure about the other cards. Ooh, here's another Murktide. Yeah, this has gotten way away from Ben Fraley, who
Yeah, I
is
had a good
successful. Yeah,
start.
he successfully brickwalled this Ragavan, which has not budged, but nothing else has really gone right.
Yeah, nice $90 card, Izzet.
Yeah, well, and these two Ledger Shredders, neither one has a counter on it yet, which means that Ben has
I
drawn
think that that's okay.
yeah, Ben has drawn all the land that Izzet has drawn all the land that Ben has not.
Mhm.
Here we go for a Chord for a bird, and it dies
Oh,
immediately.
rip bird, rip third
Short-lived.
bird.
Yeah.
Finally, we're instead of unholy heating the bird, we're actually building the bird.
All right. What is even Ben want to draw now?
Oh, Joe said that, and then we can like faintly hear somebody's microphone from like a producer, and I just hear someone go, "A land."
Yeah.
And yes, I do believe that that is still the case, but instead, that is not quite the case.
Is that a blood artist that just got cast?
I think it's a blood artist. Yeah,
Yeah.
I was also trying to figure out what 2 mana creature has a full art in this deck, and I think the only one is for it to be a blood artist.
All right. Well, Ben's gonna need some better fortune on land drops in these sideboard games, as this one did not work out, and he is not at 15 anymore. He is uh, at most at 8, and it might actually be less than that.
Yeah, this is rough, and all of those birds going down has just been kind of a beating. And yeah, if all the attackers are in the air, there's not a whole lot that Ben can really do here.
Mm-hmm.
We're just really stuck. And Isaac's like, I've got control of this game.
Yes, indeed. I believe there's an Archmage Charm in hand that was drawn several turns ago that just hasn't found a use yet. Which can stave off anything that's played. Here's another Murktide to grow the first one, and that should do it. Archmage Charm can handle any additional problem. That only grows it by 1, but that'll be enough. And there is the life total. Yep, 8 is the current total for Ben. Attack for 8. And no matter what this is, yep, Archmage Charm is going to counter that, and they're going to go on to game 2. Okay, so Isaac Bullwinkle up a game here to start round 8, or his portion of round 8. And do we see Decklist? We know what these players are playing, right? We can just roll game 2.
Yeah, we did just watch a Golgari Yawgmoth deck, and
Mhm.
we did just look at the deck itself, and we were kind of talking about how they are pretty solidly similar between them, because it is one of those things where it's a combo deck. So a lot of the time you're seeing pretty similar main boards, at least. The biggest differences could be in that sideboard. But Izzet Murktide, again, one of the most represented decks here today. So being able to see it start off here, it definitely didn't run into the same problem that the Yorion deck seemed to, but I think that we also just got to see a little bit of a better draw as far as the Izzet deck was concerned against this Yawgmoth deck.
All right. I think we missed the cue. Let me try again.
Mhm.
Go ahead and roll game 2. There it is.
There we go.
All right. So Ben
Thanks, Dave.
Ben Fraley on the play this game. Looking for a third land drop, honestly. And he doesn't find it in his opening hand.
I was thinking I just found this I just found the deck list for the Yawgmoth deck as well. And I was like, oh no, am I about to be completely wrong when I said that there's no big differences between these lists? Because it says it's labeled as Jund Yawgmoth.
I noticed that too, but
it's just for Magus of the Moon in the sideboard.
Yeah.
So
well, I don't expect to do that here.
Yeah. And is mulliganing at least to 6, it looks like, and then going to be able to start this off.
Yeah, 6 is okay. You can do plenty of work at 6. 5 is where I start to get worried, but 6 is all right. Although there is a bird and there is a bolt, but there's not a mountain or a red source of mana, at least as of yet. Maybe I misread the hand. It seems unlikely.
But it seems weird that you wouldn't play like a fetch first, too.
Yeah. Well, maybe it's just a cantrip for Isaac. If that's the case, then Ben certainly needs to take advantage while he can. Gets in for 2 with Strangleroot Geist. It is a cantrip, so I wonder if this is a 1-land hand.
Oh, well, if it was, there was a Stevens that was drawn, so looks like we will be fine, despite what could have been a little bit spooky.
All right, 2 more across, and the bird survives, so counterspell would make sense as well.
Uses the bauble here. Drew another land, too. Okay, very nice. That actually might have been in hand since the start, and just looked enough like a spell that I didn't read it as a land, but the Stevens was the draw for the last turn, so we did get fixed on that red mana.
Yep, so both decks developing just fine here. I thought the bird might eat the bolt here after the fetch, and it does. So Ben's still with 3 mana, which is plenty. 4 mana costs everything in his deck except for a large Quarter Calling. And damage coming across.
We saw Strangleroot Geist get it done against the 4-color elemental deck, so not unreasonable to believe that it couldn't get it done here as well.
Ooh, Scavenging Ooze, that's a good one. And Dryad Arbor, which did very little last game. I think this Scavenging Ooze wants to activate sooner rather than later, and Ben might agree.
Certainly is thinking
You don't
about
want to
tapping like it.
Murktide just get in there when you could stop it. So I think you're going to want to get rid of. Well, my instinct was to say anything besides the Mishra's Bauble, and that was the choice, which I understand because that's the one
Or
that.
like Delirium.
Yeah, it's the hardest one to replace for Delirium, but it's the most useful one if you're playing Murktide Regent. But no problem there. Another bolt, okay.
Yeah. Get rid of that Scooze. The last thing in hand does seem to be that Blood Artist as well. Well, now it's an Ignoble Hierarch and the Blood Artist, as that was a draw for turn.
Ugh.
Yeah,
Well,
kind of a rough spot to be in. This is kind of one of the downsides of this Golgari Yawgmoth deck. If your opening hand doesn't have like a tutor piece or something like that, you do kind of end up in this place where you're like, everything is on the table.
mhm.
I'm trying to draw off the top of my deck, and Isaac's deck is very good at reacting. So that's kind of
Yes.
a rough spot to end up being.
Yes, indeed. And if Isaac has counter magic in hand, this Legislator can just happily hold down the fort for now, and there's no reason to really press the issue at all. Isaac's life total isn't huge, and there's Blood Artist on the board, but I don't think it's anything he needs to worry about yet.
Yeah, there's a Blood Artist, but there's no sacrifice outlets right
Mhm.
now, and there's nothing like the Strangleroot Geist can come back once, so there's not a ton, I think, for Isaac to really be scared of, and does feel like he's hit this stabilizing point, and also has found another Mishra's Bauble to be able to get that delirium back again.
Had to give some thought on what to connive away there. The unlicensed hearse is nice for the undying creatures, but doesn't want to be committed to the board right now. Appreciate that, Ben. Not commonly do we see a player show us the Mishra's Bubble reveal, but it does happen once in a while. And here is Murktide, which we know and Isaac knows can actually be answered by the Grist. That was a Grist, wasn't it, that got shown?
I think so.
Yeah.
So
So that's
an interesting deploy.
I
There
mean,
could be just be another one in hand, and we
there
don't
could
care
be.
about this first one dying.
Yeah. And also, I mean, you may just if
Also,
you
the Ledger Shredder is pretty big too.
right,
So.
if you don't play this, then the Legislator eats it. So it's reasonable to do that. This is going to 2 points on Blood Artist, which matters.
Oh yeah. Yeah, especially if
And
Isaac is actually at 7. That's like a low enough, like, there's a bunch of little creatures on, well, I guess Blood Artist and Ignoble Hierarch are all ones, so they're not really getting in for anything, but we had like some bugs on the field. I guess we probably won't. This Ledger Shredder might, well, can Ledger Shredder attack without kind of being worried about life total?
I don't think so. I think there
Yeah.
has to be more plays for Isaac to be able to attack with Ledger Shredder. Unlicensed Hearse isn't going to do anything. It can't block this turn. So more creatures would be ideal. More Ledger Shredders is definitely fits that request. Yeah, Shredder Bobble. Okay.
Yeah, speaking of,
Okay. 2 unlicensed hearse go to the graveyard. This is still, I suppose, Grist doesn't have to be killed right away. I didn't see the reveal that time. I wasn't looking. I don't know if you were. The card next to Dryad Arbor for the person asking is a Blood Artist.
Mhm.
So that is really the only concern right now for Isaac.
Yeah.
Likely is the Blood Artist.
Yeah, and Grist being able to make a bunch of like 1/1s that we don't care about attacking and dying while the Blood Artist is still in play could certainly be a way. Well, okay, never mind. I forgot that we hadn't gone through combat on Isaac's side. We were worried about the Ledger Shredder not being able to attack, but once we got another one and then a Murktide, all of a sudden everything's fine.
Okay, so it's not a lethal attack on the board. Do we attack with Dryad Arbor there to get a point through?
Mm,
I guess not. Um,
yeah, seems a little bit scary.
it does. I guess that option is available next turn as well. There's no reason to
Yeah.
do it all spread it all out, except that way you do get. Yeah. Okay. So there needs to be draws here for Ben.
I think like at this point you're hoping for something like an undying creature to just start like attacking with all your things and then also getting these blood artist triggers.
Yeah. So how much damage is on the board right now for Isaac? It looks like there's 8 in dice and then 5 in natural power. So that's 13. That is actually Ben's life total.
Oh.
Well, if there's the counter or much of anything here, there's a
there's a dress
there's a
down.
dress down and an unholy heat. Is there delirium?
2 unholy heats.
Well, 2
We
unholy.
drew 2, so yeah, I don't think there's delirium, but 2 of them does 4 damage, which is at least enough to make sure that Yawgmoth is not going to be able to do.
Mm-hmm. So that's going to take out Yawgmoth, and that is going to do it. No conniving, as the Ledger Shredders are under the impact of Dress Down, but it doesn't matter. And Isaac will scoop up this match and advance to 6-3. Oh, I'm sorry, 6-2.
Yeah.
Okay. So
darn, too, because the Yawgmoth might have made it like really close too.
Yeah. No, I agree. Yeah. So, well, actually, no. With the Blood Artist in play, it would have been. I don't know. It would have been. It might have been messy. It might have been real bad for the Murktide player. If the Murktide player had no cards there, yeah. But the Unholy Heats, the Dress Down, all of that was going to play a role and reduce the chances of Isaac winning. It turns out of Ben winning down to 0. So, Yawgmoth wins 1 and loses 1 this round. So, yeah, if you have friends who love Yawgmoth, tell them to watch round 8 because it's all Yawgmoth all the time.